Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Smackdown. And tonight's Smackdown was held from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It was in the same arena as Monday Night Raw was last night. And I gotta say, tonight's Smackdown, I thought it was a decent show. I have to say it was much better than Raw last night. But it was a decent show. Pretty much enjoyed it, liked it. But the show opened up with tonight with the New Day coming out for the celebration after winning the SmackDown Tag Team Championships last week. Sorry about that, but I was saying the New Day ended up coming out for the celebration after winning the Tag Team Championships last week. And, they were out there. They had the, of course, the pancakes. They were holding a trophy cup. And Xavier Woods says, last week they did exactly what, they did best. And that was to become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And, Kofi Kingston says the Bludgeon Brothers are ferocious, but they had them out like a light. And Big E says, he wanted a long time. He waited a long time to say they are 5-time, tag team champions. And then, lo and behold, Booker T comes out in his King Booker gimmick, which I really enjoyed when Booker, did the whole King Booker gimmick back in the day. That was his heel character or heel gimmick that he used to do back then, around 2006, around there. And so he comes out and knights the New Day. He gives he gives Kofi and Xavier names, but not Big E. And Big E ends up interrupting what King Booker was saying, and Big E tells him, why does Xavier and Kofi have names, but not him? And so it was just that. So it was funny though. And King Booker then welcomes the New Day to the 5-timers club. And then the segment ends with Booker. The New Day wanted Booker to do the spin-a-rooney, so Booker ended up doing the spin-a-rooney, which was cool to see. Always awesome to see when Booker does the spin-a-rooney. And then we saw Xavier Woods do it, which Xavier did a good job, did a decent job doing his version of the spin-a-rooney. And then Kofi Kingston did it. He ended up trying. Wasn't the greatest spin-a-rooney. And then what was really funny, when it was time for Big E to do it, Big E couldn't even do it. He was just flopping around like a fish there, trying to spin around. But it was funny though. It was an enjoyable opening to the show, in my opinion. And seeing Booker, bring back his King Booker character, was really cool to see. So it was unexpected. It was unexpected that Booker was going to be here and come out as King Booker. So, but it was an enjoyable opening to SmackDown. I really liked it. And then we had the New Day was not finished. They end up going up to their commentary table. So, and then SmackDown went to a commercial. Before it went to commercial, Cesaro and Sheamus ended up making their entrance. So then it went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from commercial, it was Cesaro and Sheamus versus Luke Gallows and Carl and Cien and Primo and Epico aka the Colognes. And I'm like, why are Primo and Epico still here? I was like, oh, I didn't know they were still signed with WWE. Just saying that as a joke, because they haven't been used in a long time. When was the last time we saw the Colognes on SmackDown? I can't remember. But it was a triple threat tag team match, and it was a enjoyable match between them. It was back and forth between all of them. Really liked Cesaro and Sheamus here. Gallows and Anderson ended up doing decent. And Cesaro and Sheamus ended up getting the win. So I think it was Cesaro who ended up pinning Luke Gallows. So yeah, so Cesaro and Sheamus end up winning the match. They get to move on and get an opportunity for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And then after that match, we had a Rusev Day. Rusev, Lana, and Aiden English backstage with Paige. Paige says Rusev and Aiden English deserve to be in the tag team title picture. And Paige says Rusev and Aiden will face the Usos and Sanity in a triple threat match, in a triple threat tag team match next week. So we got another triple threat tag team match for next week. And she ends up saying the winner will face Cesaro and Sheamus to be one step closer to being the #1 contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And so that was that. So, like I said, there's going to be another triple threat tag team match next week, where it's going to be Rusev Day versus the Usos versus Sanity. So, and then we had Jeff Hardy end up coming out, and he ends up saying, since returning to SmackDown, Randy Orton has this obsession with him, and that Orton's got inside his head and mind. And Jeff says, Randy Orton made him believe he could fly. And they show the clip of what happened last week, where Jeff Hardy did the Swanton bomb off of that that case, that sort of luggage case onto Randy Orton, and Randy Orton went through the table. And Jeff says, when Randy Orton, when he put Randy Orton through the table last week, he felt alive. And he ends up saying it's just the beginning. And Jeff Hardy ends up calling out Randy Orton, because he ends up saying, for Randy Orton to come out to finish up what Randy Orton had started. And so Randy Orton ends up coming out, and he ends up saying to Jeff Hardy that he appreciates Jeff for giving him credit, and he ends up telling him he's not finished working with him yet. And Orton says this version of Jeff Hardy is the career he is going to end, and he's going to leave Jeff Hardy with broken bones in the ring. And so Randy Orton ends up calling the Canadians dumb. And Jeff Hardy ends up telling Randy Orton he's going to hell, inside Hell in a Cell. So we're going to get Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton inside Hell in a Cell, which was made official earlier in the show. So, but it was a enjoyable segment with Jeff Hardy. Very enjoyable. I'm liking this this feud between Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. Randy Orton has been, enjoyable as a heel, and he really needed this, since his babyface, persona was, getting a little stale. So then we had Renee Young interviewing Carmella about heading into her match with Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship tonight, rematch. And Carmella ends up saying, the only reason Evolution exists is the things that, she brought to the women's division. She ends up saying, Charlotte, never pinned her. And, she goes on to say, oh, I beat Charlotte Flair, twice, the whole thing that, she says, which it's getting very old. Saying, oh, I beat Charlotte Flair twice, it's getting old. It's getting repetitive and it's getting old. And she ends up calling Becky and Charlotte, chump change, and that, she says Mella is money. And so she ends up walking off. In comes R-Truth looking for Carmella. Truth still wants, a match with Carmella. It's very funny. You had Ty Dillinger there also. But it was just that interview with Carmella. Then we had Billie Kay versus Naomi, of course, last week. Naomi took on Peyton Royce. Peyton Royce ended up winning the match last week. And so Naomi made her entrance, of course. Then out came the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. And they come out and say, that Billie Kay says, that she can see the future. And she says that, last week she saw Peyton Royce, Peyton Royce was going to beat Naomi, which eventually had happened. And Billie says she could see the Toronto Raptors, having a miserable season, which got, boos, which, the Toronto crowd ended up booing Billie Kay for that. And she ends up saying that, she sees Naomi, Peyton Royce says, she sees Naomi losing again. And after that, the match got underway. Billie Kay versus Naomi. It was your typical women's match. In the end, Peyton Royce ended up kicking Naomi. Billie Kay ended up rolling up Naomi. Billie Kay ends up winning the match. So it was your typical women's match. Wasn't that great of a match. Then we had Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella come out. Daniel Bryan says, last week Miz and Maurice mocked his retirement. And he ends up saying Miz closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and, he said that Miz, could feel it. Could have felt that. And he says Miz was just acting like he always does. Saying, Miz is just, just acting. And, not, not wrestling or anything of that. And Daniel Bryan ends up saying that Miz is a very poor actor. Because, when he came out to punch Miz in the face, he couldn't act like a tough guy. Miz couldn't act like a tough guy. And he ends up saying that he was a coward. That Miz is a coward. And he says that when Brie came down to the ring, that, Maurice, that Miz hid behind Maurice. And when, Brie came out to the ring, she ended up, laying out Miz, and then Daniel Bryan did the clothesline. And Brie ends up saying, a wife can't take all that. And Maurice is always helping Miz cheat to win. And she ends up saying, oh, they're always running their mouths. And she ends up saying that, it was good punching Miz in the face. And so Daniel Bryan says at Hell in a Cell, Miz won't be able to hide behind Maurice. And Maurice won't be able to hide behind Miz. And so Daniel Bryan then gets interrupted by Andrade, Cien, Almas, and Zelina Vega. Both of them come out. Zelina Vega says that, it is an honor to stand behind two legends, meaning Brie Bella and Andrade, Cien, Almas. Zelina taking a shot at Daniel Bryan. And so Zelina ends up introducing Daniel Bryan to her and Andrade. And she ends up telling Daniel Bryan that, Andrade put Sin Cara on the shelf, and that Andrade took, Styles to his limit, AJ Styles to his limit, and that Andrade also destroyed Rusev, or destroyed Rusev Day. And she ends up saying, she thinks it's time that Andrade out-wrestles Daniel Bryan. And Daniel says, he would love to make the match official, but, he's not the GM of SmackDown anymore. And so Paige ends up coming out and making the match official. And so we got the match. Daniel Bryan versus Andrade Cien Almas. This was, a dream match to see. And it was a decent match. It was an enjoyable match. We had, of course, Brie and Zelina out there. We saw The Miz and Maurice were watching the match from the back. Daniel Bryan, of course, entertaining. I like both of these guys. But Daniel Bryan ended up getting the win by disqualification because The Miz comes. The Miz came out, made his entrance, and Daniel Bryan ended up taking out The Miz outside. And then, Daniel Bryan got back in the ring, and Miz then came in and attacked Daniel, which caused the match to be a DQ. Miz ended up tossing Daniel Bryan to Andrade, which Andrade then hit the hammerlock DDT on Daniel Bryan. And we saw The Miz lock in Daniel Bryan with, Daniel Bryan's signature submission move, the Yes Lock. Maurice then gets a hold of Brie, and Maurice ended up holding on to Brie, which gave Zelina Vega, to hit the double knees in the corner to Brie, which Zelina Vega, one point in the match, was distracting the ref, and Brie knocked her down from the apron. And Maurice then hit, I think it was a DDT, looked like a DDT on Brie. And, Miz still had Daniel Bryan in the Yes Lock. And then we saw Miz give Daniel Bryan the skull crushing finale to end it. And we just saw, Miz and Maurice just, kissing in the ring to end it. So, but the match itself between Daniel Bryan and Andrade, it was decent and enjoyable, but it ended disappointingly. I mean, we all knew that that The Miz was going to come out. So, but yeah, it was a dream match between the both of them, between Daniel and Andrade. Then we had Renee Young interviewing Charlotte about going into her rematch, and also talked about, Becky Lynch. And Charlotte ends up saying, Becky thinks, she deserves a title. And she ends up saying, that Charlotte says, she won't apologize for being successful and busting her ass off every day. And she won't roll over for anyone that tries to take, try to take that away. Not even her best friend, Becky Lynch, of course. So that was that interview with Charlotte. And then we had AJ Styles comes out, talks about Samoa Joe. He ends up saying him versus Samoa Joe is official at Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship. He says Joe is good with these mind games that he's doing, and the only thing he was able to prove is, is that Joe is not man enough to take the title away from him. And he says Joe is not a man, and that he's going to put a stop to Joe's mind games right now. And, he says he makes the rules. Styles says he makes the rules around here. So Styles demands Joe to come out because he's going to knock, he's going to knock Joe's teeth down his throat. And so Samoa Joe shows up on the Titantron and says to Styles that he's not going to come out tonight. And he ends up saying to him he's not playing daddy just yet. And so he calls Styles' wife, Wendy, and he ends up telling her that, he's going to keep the promise Styles never did, and that Styles is coming home. And so Joe goes, oh yeah, I'll see you. Joe goes to Styles' wife and says, oh yeah, I'll see you at that gathering or that picnic next Tuesday. And so after Joe gets off the phone with Styles' wife, Joe disappears off the Titantron. Styles gets pissed and runs to the back. And when Smackdown came back from commercial, because after Styles went to the back, Carmella ended up coming out, for her entrance. Then when SmackDown came back from commercial, we saw Styles running out to the back. He was looking to see if Joe was still there, but Joe, wasn't. Joe disappeared. So that was that. I mean, it was a decent segment from AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. Then it was the main event, of course, Charlotte versus Carmella for the SmackDown Women's Championship, the rematch. And the match itself, it was okay. Wasn't, great match by any means, though. But Charlotte was decent in the match. But we didn't hear boos when she came out. We heard some cheers. And Charlotte ended up winning the match, of course. She ended up hitting the spear to Carmella, and then a natural selection. And then she locked Carmella in with the figure eight. So Charlotte still retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. Then we had, after the match, Becky Lynch ended up attacking Charlotte, which Becky got a big pop from the crowd. Everybody was chanting for Becky. So she attacked Charlotte from behind, and she ends up getting on the mic. She says to Charlotte that, when she gets her way, come Hell in a Cell, she's taking the title back. And she ends up calling Charlotte a bitch. And then she just walks off. But Becky looked really good tonight, wearing the black. But yeah, she was pretty tonight. And because they showed the replay of when Becky came out of nowhere and attacked Charlotte. After the replay was over, we heard boos for Charlotte. Some people were cheering, but I heard pretty much loud boos from that. So the show ended with Charlotte just in the corner, and SmackDown ended after that. So it was a okay main event. It wasn't, you know, great match by any means though. So yeah, so anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of SmackDown. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until the next video, which will be my review of Lucha Underground, I'll see you all tomorrow night with my Lucha Underground review.